an injustice that has occurred in their court cases, in their kangaroo court cases, right? Because this is not, no matter what they tell us, and they really tell our children lies, this is not a just system. This is an unjust system. And it treats people according to how much money they have and the color of their skin. And so when there are people who become freedom fighters, they become freedom fighters because they know this. Because they know that this is an unjust place that does not treat our children correctly, that does not treat our children with humanity and dignity, where our children are not safe to go to school and to walk the streets, and not even safe in their home. Ayanna Jones was 7 years old in Detroit, and she got killed by a police who shot in her home when they were going in there to serve a warrant and they had the wrong address. So these people that we speak about, that everybody on this table has spoken about, these are the people that say, you're not going to treat our children like this. You are not going to treat our grandmothers like this. You are not going to treat our people like this. And so they stood up. And because they stood up, this country punished them. And what is our responsibility, as Sister Pam said, is to stand up for them because they are in prison. So I want to do something that we often do when we call the names of our political prisoners to bring them in the space, right? So when I say a person's name, I want you to say presente. Okay? Can you do that? Presente? Okay. So these are 13 members of the Black Panther Party who were in prison, right? Sundiata Acoli.
Presente.
Sundiata is 81 years old. He was on the New Jersey Turnpike with Assata Shakur, who is now living in exile in Cuba. He was denied. He was shot and wounded, escaped on the Turnpike, got captured a few days later, put on trial, charged with the murder of a police officer and his friend, Zaid Shakur, who was also in the car with him and Assata. Sundiata was granted parole by the judge. The judge in the state of New Jersey ordered his release. The parole board and the FOP in New Jersey appealed his release. And they appealed it all the way to the state Supreme Court. And the state Supreme Court overturned his release. And they sent him back to the parole board. He was made to go back to the parole board. He was denied parole, and they told him to come back in 15 years. So he was 80 when they told him to come back in 15 years. That means he will be 95 years old when he goes back to the parole board. So we're very clear that they want our freedom fighters to die in prison. So we say his name and we do the work on his behalf. The next person is Imam Jamil Al-Amin. Imam Jamil Al-Amin is right here from Atlanta. When they captured him, the FBI said, we finally got him, because years ago he was known as H. Rap Brown, who, like Sister Pam made it plain, spoke to the people in ways that they can understand and expose the injustices. And then he became a Muslim and an imam, and he is a leading imam, not just in Atlanta and in this country, but around the world, well respected. And they couldn't have that, because you see now how they're waging a war on Muslims. And so they accused him of killing a sheriff of police here in Atlanta, and they said that the person that shot the sheriff was wounded. But when Imam Jamil Al-Amin was captured, he had no bullet wounds. He had no injuries. So they knew that it wasn't him, but they didn't care. And so they've convicted him of a crime. And it's really the crime of being a freedom fighter. But they said it was for killing a police officer. So we say his name. Herman Bell.
Presente.
Herman Bell is a political prisoner in New York State who is a member of the Black Panther Party. He's been denied parole like 8 times. In New York City and New York State, the PBA, which is the Police Association, they take out ads in the newspapers. They write articles in the newspapers to fight against his release every time he comes up for parole, which is every 2 years. He's been in prison for 43 years. Veronza Bowers.
Present.
Right? Veronza Bowers is now in North Carolina, but he was here. He's been held for 13 years. He was supposed to be released. He served his time. He was ready for mandatory release. The Homeland Security, the Department of Injustice, they call it the Department of Justice, but they called the prison and said, do not release him. He is, quote, a domestic terrorist. And so for 13 years, he has been held in prison without any charge or any conviction. They just won't let him go. So we speak his name. Romaine Chip Fitzgerald.
Presente.
I need y'all to say it louder. Presente.
Presente.
He is in California. He's been in prison for like 50 years. Right? Robert Seth Hayes.
Presente.
Another, these are all members of the Black Panther Party. He's been in prison for 40-something years, and we've been fighting for his life because the prison is trying to kill him because he's battling diabetes. Anybody in here have diabetes? Oh, this is a wonderful thing. Nobody in here has diabetes.
Oh, right.
Yes, because it's a life-threatening. It's a life-threatening disease where your body doesn't process the sugar, and he has to take insulin, and he goes very easily into almost a diabetic coma with either very, very high sugar levels in the hundreds, 700s, and very, very low. So he gets really, really sick, but they don't maintain his diabetes. Mumia Abu-Jamal. Rochelle Sinker-McGee. Jaleel Muntakeem.
Presente.
Eric Poindexter.
Presente.
Kamal Siddiqui.
Presente.
And I want to just say something about Kamal, who is in a medical facility in Augusta. Kamal is the father of one of his daughters he had with Assata Shakur. And the FBI went to visit Kamal to say, at the time, the reward for Assata was $1 million. And they said, we want you to lure her away from Cuba because she's living in Cuba in exile. And we want you to help us capture her. And we'll give you the $1 million. And he said, I would, based on principle, he would not do that. But because she's also the mother of one of his daughters, he said, I will not do that. They said, if you don't do that, you're going to die in prison. And so they recharged Kamal with a so-called crime that was more than 30 years old, that 30 years prior, they dismissed the charges because of lack of evidence, and they knew that they had fault. They was trying to trump up charges against him. But in this climate, they convicted him. The same judge that convicted and sentenced, well, the same court that convicted Imam Jamil Al-Amin convicted Kamal Siddiqui, and they were both sentenced by the same judge. So we fight for Kamal because the only reason why he's in prison is because he refused this country's offer for the $1 million to capture Assata Shakur, who is now a $2 million reward on her head. And Dr. Matula Shakur, right? Paulette mentioned him. Russell Maroon Schultz, right? So we say those names because those are, we have a sister, Asantewa Njinga, and she always says that, our children need to know that we have black superheroes, right? We don't have to look for Superman and Batman and Spider-Man. I mean, and I'm not saying that you can't like those people. If you like the comics and you like those movies, but know that you have some real straight-up superheroes that fight for people that they don't know. Because when those Black Panthers were on the street, they got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to feed other people's children who were hungry and wouldn't have otherwise had a decent meal because this country did not care and still does not care about poor people. You can pass by the most luxurious building in any city or state and then there's still homeless people who were not born. The Black Panther Party was created in 1966, and these were people who were fighting in the 1960s, And I know that there's a lot of people in this room that were not born in the 1960s, right? So, and not born there as long as these people have been in prison, but they fought for you. And so we must, in whatever ways that we can, fight for them. So I thank you for listening. I hope that when we finish, you'll have some questions and seeing how you can get involved. I often say everybody can't do the same thing, and everybody won't do the same thing, but everybody can do something.
That's right.
So thank you so much. Thank you.
We're gonna hear from Mama Njinga, and after we hear from her, we have a piece from Amir that we're gonna play, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. There is this is being Facebook Live right now. I just found out, so there's some questions that folks sent through. I really don't like that whole Facebook Live thing, because I like to know who I'm talking to. At least if it's being videotaped, I can, but it's all good. We here now. So there's a couple folks that have sent some questions in. I hope you all have questions. We know it's getting up there in the evening, but this is a rare occasion. It's not every day you're gonna have freedom fighters who have been out there for decades in your midst. So we want to take advantage of that. There's also, before you leave, all these tables over here. It'd be nice to support them.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Folks have traveled. Our folks came down from Dallas over here. Give a strong round for the brothers and sisters from Dallas. Family here from South Carolina. Like I said, Tampa, Brooklyn, Baltimore, Philly, and I'm from Mars somewhere. So, good. We're going to enjoy it. Mama Njinga, can you also, because I heard you talk a good number of times, but one thing that you would, I heard you speak on before was the assault on the Baltimore chapter of the Black Panther Party dealing with the whole counterinsurgency issue and how that came about. The fact that a lot of brothers and sisters, they get the internet version, and the internet version is not always correct because of the fact that the state runs the internet as well.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming and spending this wonderful time together. And I know that when you leave here, that you'll be a little different and you'll be changed, because everything that you've heard here has been nothing but the truth. And it's important for you to hear it. And I speak to you young people particularly because when I was 17, I made a commitment to the Black Panther Party and to the community and to the people that I was going to do everything that I could to make sure that there would be a better life for all of the children that came after me. When Sister Dequi was talking about the breakfast program and all the programs we started, I was one of those people that got up early in the morning at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning to get ready to prepare food. And first off, a lot of times we had to go and get it. So we had to go from store to store to collect the food, then bring it back, then prepare it. And as we prepared it, we also took the time with our youth to explain to them the importance of how powerful they are and how important they are, and how getting nourishment in your body helps you to keep your mind straight. And there's some powerful stuff that's going on out here now that's trying to prevent you from getting your mind straight. Like the sister was talking about the television and talking about that. And then she said something about superheroes. We got a new movie coming out, Black Panther.
Yeah.
And I want you to first know that it has nothing to do with the Black Panther Party. Okay. Now, in saying that, it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy it and can't understand that there's some important relevancy to it. I want to tell you a few Black history facts about it before it comes out, and I haven't seen it. The director is Black, and he brought a Black cast. A lot of the information that they use to actually talk about this fictitious place is actual Black factual history of the continent of Africa. The vibranium that they talk about that is in his suit is relevant for you to understand the power of that mineral there, because that's what they're doing in Africa when they steal this coltan that they use for the phones and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's some information in there that the brother that wrote this and put it together and his team are bringing to you that has some relevancy. The women who are Black Panthers protectors are female, like the homie women, Dogon women. So they use some facts about us and about our history and about our power and about our strength, our connection to Earth. So I want you to enjoy that movie. But what I want you to do is I also want you to do some research on Africa and your power as king and queens from years gone by. And I want you to do some research on the real Black Panther Party that was in existence, that brought about a lot of change in your life. So the food that we used to bring you for breakfast is also power for your mind. And this was food for your mind tonight. Pam was saying that she's 72 years old. I'm close to that. I'm not 72. And I would like to come off the front line, not because I don't want to do the work, but because I'm getting old and I'm getting tired. But I need a replacement. And I need you. I need the young people. I need the replacement. I need the replacement. And I want you to know that I'll always be here to be able to give you as much assistance and wisdom that I can give you from my time and experience. But I'm waiting for you to step up. I'm here for you to step up. I'm here to watch you grow great and be great. And I can tell you that in 1968, I was 17. And I made a commitment. And it's 50 years later, and I'm still here on the front line. Those brothers that are down and sisters that are down, they were my comrades and my brothers and sisters. I can't rest until they're free. I will not stop until they're free. I will not stop until they're all extracted. I need you to come and step up to the plate so I can get some help. So I'm looking for you young people. I want you to know the power is in your hands to change your destiny. They wanted me to talk about the Baltimore chapter of the Black Panther Party and how it was invaded. The Baltimore chapter of the Black Panther Party didn't start out as a viable chapter of the great, wonderful Black Panther Party that we became. It was started by the government. It was their way to covertly actually come in and interfere and try to get information. And it was done by the NSA. But when it was found out, because as those things always come to light, that they were actually utilizing the organization and the young people of Baltimore to infiltrate and find out what was happening, there became a purge of that beginning group of people, and the real Black Panther Party in Baltimore started. So I just want to say that, come on. I just want to say that all of the political prisoners that have been in and are out, they have come out and they have continued to work. Those of us who have remained out and have continued to work, we have to continue to do the work. That's all I can say.